Alex is just trying to, it won't let her rejoin anymore. So that's who I'm on the phone with.
Oh,
Did you get it?
oh, she is. Okay.
Okay, that works. Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
It
Yeah.
looks like there's other people here too now, Emilio, right?
Yes.
Looks like it says there's.
We have 5 attendants already.
Perfect. I'm just gonna try to, oh, it's so now the only other thing is it says I can't share my screen to show the presentation part.
Okay, there we go.
There we go, perfect. So yeah, there, we're good to go now.
Well, I'm learning. This is the first webinar I do using this platform. So I'm learning.
I think we're all
Emilio,
still in the virtual world.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to look. Like, you guys get my nose. This is fun.
Well, you have to put your computer a
I have
little
2
bit.
screens. Oh.
Okay. You are watching the one with the camera right now.
Well, that's lower.
Okay. Are you in a laptop?
Yes, but it's, yes, the camera's on the laptop,
Yes.
but you guys are on my screen. So it's,
Yes, because you have double screen. So if you want.
so if I bring it into this one.
Yeah, you can just pull it.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm looking straight at you now?
Yeah.
Yay! Okay.
Oh my goodness. The fun times with Zoom.
Yes. So I have a message to the attendees. We have already 10 people.
Nice.
We will go and start in approximately 4 minutes. So in the meantime, well, when we're waiting, there is I'm going to be announcing that several times during the presentation, probably, that we have a Q&A button on the bottom of the your screen, and all the attendants can ask questions using the Q&A button on the lower part of checking that.
We can have a time spotted at the end too for Q&A too. So any other questions that come up, we can answer at the end as well.
Yes, yes. Can you, I'm not sure you guys can see the Q&A.
Yep, I found the button.
Okay, okay. So you can keep it open if you want. And then you can answer by maybe up to you if you want to answer it right on the spot or after the presentation. Either okay. 2 more minutes.
It looks
So
like
that we
typed it for so that we could see that it works. Someone typed in there.
Yes, yeah.
So I can see how it works now. We're good.
Yes. There is we have a
Emilio's cutting out on me. I don't know if it's anybody else, but he's cutting out on me.
All right. We have 37 people registered, which is amazing. I'm very happy, and you know, I'm really happy that you ladies wanted to share this information with the community. I feel that it's very important. Besides my role in the county as a settlement services coordinator, I'm also trustee for the Coart Pan Ridge District School Board in the areas of West. So it's been a long conversation during this time about mental issues, mental health, mental stability due to COVID, depression, anxiety, loneliness, all the kind of stuff that not only adults are experiencing, but also kids are experiencing a big time. And we see that on the school. So I know you guys prepare already the presentation, and I would like you to introduce yourselves. So it's officially 2:00. So I'm gonna welcome everybody to this presentation about COVID-19 and mental health. On the screen, we have Morgan Emerson, Alex Matthee, and Sherry Chisholm, more or less. So they are the specialists from the Northumberland Hills Hospital Department of Mental Health, if I believe. And I guess let's start with you, Sherry.
Okay, thank you for having us, Emilio. Well, all three of us work for Northumberland Hills Hospital Community Mental Health Services. I am on the ACT team, Assertive Community Treatment team, and I've been working in mental health for over 25 years in a vocational role. And I'm going to move on to Morgan. Morgan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, just give me 1 second. I'm going to pull this up just so we have this as we go along here. Oops. So there we go. There's our, I don't know. Can you all see my little, like, are you blocked off by a little Zoom block? Can you see? No? Okay, we're good. Perfect. So I am Morgan Emerson. I am a housing support worker at our office. Our program is community-based and is to support individuals in their home whose mental health prohibits them from engaging in activities of daily living. So our program is based on goal setting, motivational interviewing skills, and maintaining relationships with landlords, and just kind of making sure a house is a home for our mental health clients. And I'll pass this off to Alex now.
Awesome. Thanks, Morgan. So my name's Alex. I work in the peer support program. I'm a peer support specialist. So peer support is founded on the idea that people who have had similar struggles in their life are maybe better suited to help people going through similar struggles. So in the role of the peer support specialist, it is a requirement that the peer support specialist has had a mental health experience themselves or within a close family member. So I've had a mental health experience myself. I think it's really amazing that Northumberland Hills Hospital wants to hire people who have received these services and now get the opportunity to be service providers to other people going through some of the same struggles, which is really amazing. The second thing that my program does is I run a program called TEL Talks, which is teaching and education learned through living. So within the last year, I've been running groups mainly on Zoom due to the pandemic, but we're also starting to do some in-person groups again. And these groups are a mixture of vocational, recreational, education, or support. So for example, we've been doing a community garden with Sherry as well, getting people outside, teaching them some gardening. Anyways, I could talk about this for forever, but I feel like we can probably talk about TEL Talks at the end if people are interested.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, ladies. So the floor is yours.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna be around. Thank you.
Thank you. So our intentions for this presentation, our goals is to talk about information of mental health, mental illness, and mental wellness. We'd like to talk about some coping strategies and skills, language do's and don'ts, impacts of COVID on mental health, taking care of your mental health, how to help a friend, and community resources.
Hello, we're twins.
All right, so it's going to start playing before we get into the contents of this. We'll come back to that. But we really wanted to start this presentation by really, oh, it's going to go to the next slide on me, differentiating what mental health and mental illness is, because they are increasingly being used, they mean the same, but they actually not. Everyone has mental health, just like everyone has health. Mental health is how we respond to day-to-day struggles and difficulties that affect everyone from time to time. When we talk about mental health, we're talking about how our mental well-being, so our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our ability to solve problems and overcome difficulties, our social connections, and our understanding of the world around us. This is different from mental illness. Mental illness is actually a diagnosable condition that usually requires medical treatment. Mental illness is not something that a person can just overcome with willpower and can be caused by biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, trauma and abuse, and family history of mental illness as well. The video that did start to play before I was able to stop it was just something fun. I'm sure many of you are aware of TikTok. This is just a quick little video kind of explaining that difference. So let's see if it's going to actually play again.
Hello, we're twins. We're twins. Yes, sir. I am me. She is she. Except when I pretend I'm her. And when we switch, you can't tell which is which.
Again, just a quick little differentiating, really wanting to drive home that as much as we do think that these two things are the same thing, they actually are not. And I will pass this off to Alex.
Thanks, Morgan. So the feeling of mental illness is it's often confusing. It changes the way we perceive threats. There's mood changes and strong emotions every day. But mental illness is confusing because often we trust our brains, we trust our instincts, but mental illness is going to perceive the way we receive these threats. Additionally, when we have mood changes and strong emotions every day, it's hard to tell when a line has been crossed from our regular emotions into that things are becoming difficult to handle. Some examples of how instincts are triggered. Additionally, another story that we've heard is I had a full-on nervous breakdown leading up to my exams. When I had bad anxiety attack, it feels like I'm drowning. I'm gripped by sheer terror and can't move. Sometimes there's so much adrenaline buzzing through my body that it literally feels like I'm vibrating. So often there's fatigue, being overtired, your heart is racing, you have stomach pains, headaches, butterflies in your stomach. So there can be many feelings that come with what you're dealing with some mental health struggles. And we just want you to know that that is normal. It can feel like many different ways, and just to open up a conversation about that this can feel different for everyone too. So the impacts that our mental health has had with the pandemic is that there has been increased amount of self-reports that people are experiencing psychological distress. There is more anxiety and worries. There is more loneliness and isolation, feelings of hopelessness, depression, and issues with sleep. So a lot of people are just struggling to feel any kind of connection or engagement. Trying to do some pleasurable activities has been really hard to do. People are obviously tired, stressed, and lonely. People are missing being able to have their previous daily routines. So churches have been closed for a long time. People haven't been able to volunteer places where they've been volunteering. Even being able to go to the gym or maybe even just to the dog park and talk to friends that you used to there. So huge impacts. Our lives have done like a complete 180, and we have to expect that our mental health is going to struggle with that as well.
Apparently this presentation wants to keep getting ahead of itself. But we are going to talk to you a little bit now about stigma around mental health and mental illness. So to define stigma, stigma is any attribute, trait, or disorder that causes a person to be labeled as unacceptable or different from the norm. So with physical or medical conditions, especially with language, that is often what a stigma generally is involved around. So with physical or medical conditions such as cancer, we don't use personalizing language such as Jamie is cancer, but often our society thinks it's okay to talk about things like this with mental illness and say things like Jamie is bipolar. What if we said something like Jamie has cancer or Jamie has bipolar disorder? It makes things sound a little bit different, a little less onus of the person. And language awareness relating to mental illness has lagged behind social awareness due to stigma, which kind of what we're talking about right now. In talking about stigma and stereotypes, just think about how you engage in these situations. We have 2 examples for you. So think about your reaction if your friend approached you and said they were feeling very tired lately, having a hard time getting out of bed, and not doing the activities they used to really enjoy. And if you were to then think about another situation and someone said to you, think about a time now that if your friend told you they were having a hard time sleeping at night because there was a sound like a radio that was on in another room, but they couldn't find the radio. So 2 very different situations, 2 very different explanations of something similar, but I'm sure kind of in the back of our minds, sometimes there might be some prejudice towards those situations, and we really have to be aware of that.
Thank you, Morgan. Strategies to support mental health and well-being.
Okay, so we have personal coping skills. So we're just going to go over some of those now. So of course, the slide has mentioned that coping skills are strategies that help deal with mental health challenges in order to achieve positive mental health and well-being. People can use their own personal coping strategies to take charge of their own thoughts, feelings, and actions. And when they do, they find that they experience more positive mental health and often begin to thrive. Coping skills don't necessarily remove the stress or eradicate the challenges like mental illness, but they do go a long way towards helping people function well despite their challenges. Coping skills are choices and their habits. We have both positive and negative coping skills. So negative often feels good in the moment. So just to elaborate on these further, coping skills are something we spend a lot of time talking about and is so important. So of course, people can be trying to get more therapy, take medications, but coping skills is really what people need to be working on as soon as they leave our office and working on them until they come back. And we're gonna talk a lot more about the different types of coping skills coming up, but I often really encourage people to do this practice component of coping skills. So if people are only ever doing deep breathing exercises when they're feeling extremely stressed and overwhelmed, quite often your brain starts to have an association with when I feel overwhelmed, I do deep breathing, I just kind of get more overwhelmed. So something we really talk about is you need to be doing some of these coping skills in times where you are feeling calm and you are having positive mental health, so that in times when you are feeling overwhelmed and anxious, you can start doing deep breathing and it helps to calm you down. Anyways, we really want these things to become habits and second nature so that they can kick in and help you when you're struggling. So I run a program called the WRAP program. It's called the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. It's created by Mary Ellen Copeland, and she has her PhD. She lives in the States now. And when she was young, her mother was in and out of mental institutions. And there'd be times in her mom's life where she was doing really well and times where her mom was struggling very much. Mary Ellen was kind of interested in what kept her mom well when she was at home and thriving for a few years and then struggling again. What were some of the differences? And she actually found that her mom was using certain coping skills. And when she was using them, she was doing well. She was taking medication. She was getting therapy. She was able to stay at home, be a contributing member of the family, and be a really great mom. In times where she stopped prioritizing herself and doing those things, she would end up back in a hospital. So what the WRAP program does is it's a program that we work through a specific book. We outline what people's wellness toolboxes are. We teach more coping skills for them to put into their wellness toolbox. We start talking about daily maintenance plans. So what are things you need to do every day to keep yourself well and stay well? You know, for example, for me, I need to walk my dog. I need to eat 3 healthy meals a day. I need to grocery shop like once a week and make sure I have healthy food in my fridge. And when those things start to go downhill, we're kind of looking at, we have early warning signs happening. So now I probably need to be asking family members, hey, can you help me clean out my fridge and put some healthy meals in it? Will you come over for dinner so I can make sure I'm eating those healthy meals? So yeah, so this is basically a toolbox and a handbook of what we need to do to keep ourselves well. And it can be used for mental health issues. It can be used for physical health issues. It can be used to create new habits in your home. And at the very end, we get into some crisis planning. So if you need to reach out for help or go to a hospital, where would you like to go? Where are your local resources that can help you? Anything that people can plan ahead of time is going to be helpful for times when they're not able to advocate for themselves. So if someone's really experiencing a deep depression, a deep psychosis, it's really hard to then start looking for community resources. So we encourage people, and like probably like a lot of people who are tuning into this webinar right now, find out what those community resources are before you really need them. So you know, and you would feel comfortable going there and getting services. So yeah, if anyone wants to take the RAT program, send me an email and we can put you on the list.
I just wanted to double check before I moved on because I didn't realize I couldn't see the Q&A thing, but we don't have anything in there yet. So I just wanted to double check, especially with all of the information we've already provided, but we are going to carry on. So the next section we wanted to talk to you about in relation to coping skills, kind of more personal, is the proactive health management behaviors. So when we talk about proactive, we're talking about things that you can engage in rather than having to a situation. So these are things you can do to kind of avoid having to react in a negative way to take care of your physical health, because this has a positive impact on your mental health and overall well-being. So if you are self-isolated, like I know we obviously, with COVID, there has been times some of us have had to isolate, quarantine, find ways to exercise in your home. Physical activity is a good example. I know for me, I went out during COVID and I bought myself a mini trampoline. And that has been what I've been using in my home to engage in some sort of physical activity. Alex is laughing at me because she knows that I do this every single day. Something else that we want to talk to you about in terms of these proactive health management behaviors, getting enough sleep. As much as we all want to try to stay up late in the night and scroll social media or, do different things on our phones or get other things done, getting enough sleep can really help to reduce the amount of stress we experience and prepare you to better manage stress. And with that being said about sleep, try to keep a consistent sleep schedule. Going to bed and getting up at the same time each day, including weekends, is going to really help with this as well. Kind of along the same lines of sleep, making sure you're practicing sleep hygiene. So I know for me, especially working remotely, there has been times that I have wanted to use my bed and sit and work on my bed or do other things kind of within my sleeping space that I shouldn't be. So make sure you're using your bed for sleep, not reading, watching TV, using your phone. Make sure that that is your space that you know that you can go and sleep and rest and kind of rejuvenate for the day. The other thing that we would also add with the sleep part is to avoid naps during the day if you can, because these are going to interrupt your sleep at night. Kind of also, as Alex was saying, in terms of some of these behaviors, eating healthily can help us feel better. When we're stressed, I know for me, even like I want to go grab a chocolate bar, I want to grab a bag of chips, I want to grab something that's going to make me emotionally feel better. But comfort foods are not actually good for stress and your overall health. They're going to impact your physical health. And I know personally, after I've eaten that bag of chips, my mental health also has an impact because I don't feel so good about what I've already eaten. That being all said, we have to make sure that we're non-judgmental of ourselves because we all cope differently. However, it's important to be mindful of how we're using substances as well. Again, as they appear to help reduce stress initially, kind of like that chocolate bar, like that bag of chips, but in the long run, it can make things worse. The brain and the body develop a tolerance to the numbing effects of these substances and different kind of reactive health management behaviors instead of these proactive ones. But in the end, it's going to cause us additional harm. So that's just something else we're talking about in terms of personal coping strategies. And now, to continue on with self-care, I have Sherry.
To add to what Morgan was saying, we'd like to talk about setting up a daily routine. This can provide some much needed structure to your days. Try to go to bed, as Morgan had said, in the same time, including weekends. Practicing gratitude. There's lots of talk about that, but sometimes it's harder to put into practice. So keeping a journal or even telling family and friends things that you appreciate about them. It's also nice to hear for yourself. Positive self-talk is always beneficial too. As Morgan and Alex had said, eating healthy and well-balanced meals. There's lots of options you can do. There's lots of free online cooking options now as well. And I don't know, maybe share some recipes with some family members. We recommend taking time to disconnect, whether that be from the news, media, your phone, stepping away and getting outside, some nature, anything that makes you feel good. But it's important to take that time away so that you can recharge your batteries. We talked about adding a new hobby. Morgan had shared that she started jumping again, or jumping for the first time, I guess, Morgan. We both smiled because she's very enthusiastic, and it's I enjoy watching her jump, but I haven't joined the bandwagon yet, Morgan, so good on you. And then staying connected. So we are social creatures, and it's important that we have those connections for our emotional health. So apart from the phone and video calls, we sort of recommend that you find other outlets, whether it's talking to neighbors or going for a walk or just sitting outside in your street. For whoever walks by, just simply a hello goes a long way. So we wanted to keep reinforcing getting outside. So planting a garden or weeds out of your neighbor's, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. Anything like that would be beneficial. Being active, whatever that means for you in any fashion, even if it just means sitting in a chair and moving your shoulders, doing something for yourself in any manner is important. Cultivating relationships, we'd like to talk about, it's definitely a challenge through COVID, and for those that are single, it's probably a lot more of a challenge, a little more isolating, trying to meet people, but don't give up. Hopefully people are getting vaccinated and being healthier, making healthier choices, so the world will hopefully resume to a new normal. Nurture your gratitude. Even if your life is crazy right now, for some of us that can be the case, finding and affirming those things that you are grateful for is very important. We do want to talk about detoxing from any of those things that we've sort of added. I don't want to say new addictions, but maybe healthy eating or some substances or whatever we've been doing to sort of self-cope. If it's interfering with our thoughts and consuming more of our time, then maybe it's time to self-reflect on, is it really impeding on my life? Am I happy with how things are going, or do I need to make some changes? We want to talk about spending time with animals. I know shelters are starting to open up, I believe, shortly. So there's always pets that can use some support. And if you're not able to have a pet, I'm sure shelters would welcome support in helping with the pets that they are trying to support. We'd like to talk about art in any fashion, whether that be drawing or dancing or singing or you name it, any art form, strongly encouraged. Now's the time, especially if you're kind of isolated and not much to do, grab a pen and paper and start to doodle. You'll never know where that goes. Laughing, we don't talk about laughing, but laughing is such a huge natural endorphin, and it's contagious. I don't know if you've seen the video, we probably should have added it. There's a video I've seen of somebody sitting on a train and one person started to laugh and it just became this contagious effect, and it's amazing. And sleep. Nobody really likes to talk about sleep, and when we do, most people say they don't get enough sleep. Well, it's true, but there are certain strategies and techniques that you can do. If you're open to those, we can talk about those further. Morgan, you're up.
So Sherry, I just wanted to say those were all like really great. Sorry, Morgan.
You're good. It cut me off anyway, so because I was lagging, so you can keep going.
Oh, is your video going to come up?
Keep going. Yep. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
I think honestly what we're trying to drive home with the self-care strategies is there are many options, and quite honestly, coping skills can really be that simple. Finding something that makes you laugh, watching somebody laugh, kind of like Sherry was saying. So this is a rather corny video about just kind of how simple coping strategies can be. So we're just going to take a break from listening to us talk for a second and watch this really quickly.
This is a set of ideas to help you cope. A is for activity. Be active, move, do more of the things you enjoy. B, breathe. Take deep breaths in and long, slow breaths out. Count to 10, then start again. C is for create. Find creative ways to express yourself. What other ways are there to be creative? D, distract yourself. If you are in crisis and need to stay safe, try to distract yourself by keeping busy. For example, watch TV, play. When you feel calmer, you'll be more able to tackle the distressing thoughts and feelings. E is for exercise. Get moving. Run around or do some sport. Go to the park or playground and have some fun. F, friends and family. Friends and family are important. Spend time with the people that make you feel happy. G is for goal setting. Break tasks down into small steps. Focus on one at a time. H is for helpline. Call Childline. If you feel you can't speak to a parent or teacher, they will listen and offer you help. I is for ice. Cool down, have an ice cream or a cold shower to lower your temperature to help keep your body and mind calm. J, joke. Find something to make you laugh. K, keep a scrapbook of the places you have been and things you have done. It will remind you of happy times and of your achievements, things to be proud of and feel good about. L, list 3 things you can hear, 3 things you can see, 3 things you can touch. This will help you to focus your mind on the present moment, the here and now. M is for music. Listen to your favorite music. N is for nurture. Look after yourself by making sure you eat and drink. O, organize. Do one thing at a time. Tick things off the list so you can see how much you are getting done. P is for pets. Spend time looking after and playing with an animal. They are great for cuddles. Q, quiet time. Shh. Things calm and peaceful around you. R, relax. It's important and okay to take a break. How do you like to chill out? S is for support networks. Who's around you that you can lean on for support? Friends, family, teachers, youth clubs, helplines? T, try something new. Try an activity or hobby you haven't done before. You might find something you enjoy and are good at. U, use your talent and strengths. Focus on what you do well and do more of it. This will build your confidence. V is for visualize. Picture your calm or happy place. Maybe you could draw it and put it somewhere to help you focus on other thoughts and images. W, write it down. Keep a diary or blog. Get it out of your mind and onto paper. X is for Xbox. It's okay to have downtime and have fun. Y, you can do it. Positive self-talk can help you believe in yourself. Well done, keep going. Z, sleep on it. Sometimes things feel better when we have a good night's sleep. If you want to find out more, get in touch with Hampshire CAMHS and visit hampshirecams.org.
So this video was mostly obviously your personal coping skills, and a lot of the stuff that we really want to dive into quickly now. And we understand things are starting to open back up again, and hopefully we are headed towards the end of this pandemic. However, we do realize that this has had a huge impact on everyone's mental health and well-being. So we want to talk about some coping strategies specific to you, your mindset, your thinking around the pandemic, around your mental well-being, anxiety towards the pandemic, all of those different things. So with that said, I will pass it off to Sherry to talk to you.
Thanks, Morgan. So we're going to talk about acceptance, and acceptance that stress and anxiety are normal and expected reactions to a crisis. Take a deep breath. Yes, we've all been through a lot. We've all been through this journey together. It's been different for all of us, but we need to accept that stress and anxiety are normal and that it's part of this process. COVID-19 was a new virus to us, and we're still learning lots about it, the uncertainty about the virus and the changes that have been unfolding still, I think, are making people feel anxious with the unknown. This is normal, and it actually can help motivate us to take action to protect ourselves and others and to learn more about the pandemic. So we want to say that it's okay to not feel okay. And we're hoping we can clarify what the difference is for folks. So we're going to feel a degree of stress and anxiety, and this will be for an extended period as the pandemic continues. But we're hoping that, especially now, unfortunately towards the end of it, that some of this will make more sense and help folks as we move forward.
Oh,
Alex, your mic's on.
Thanks. We do this all day and still. All right. Okay, so stay informed. So we also want to make sure that we're checking with experts and credible sources for where we're getting our information about COVID vaccines, everything that goes with it. So the World Health Organization, Health Canada, the Ontario Ministry of Health, and of course our local health unit. We also want to be wary of what's posted on social media and always consider the reliability of the information you see on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We also want to find balance and limit the amount of stressful information that we're taking in. So I know that I can turn the news on and watch for like find out the weather, find out the big things that are going on, and then I turn it off, right? Like put on one of those Netflix shows that you love and just play that in the background all day or something. But don't be bombarded by the news all day either, because we're not really hearing about the happy things there either. So try to find some of that positive stuff as well.
And the next part we want to talk to you about is balance thinking. This is kind of very much linked to our mindset and challenging those negative and anxious thoughts. As Sherry already said, it is okay to not feel okay. It is okay to feel anxiety and stress. That is normal in these situations. And it's often going to feel overwhelming, but it can definitely be useful to identify which things are actually problems that need to be solved or addressed, and which are just worries that are not necessarily grounded in reality. Often this is something that we work on with coping skills and kind of moving forward with some of our clients that are diagnosed with anxiety and depression. It's just kind of figuring out what is, what are real problems that we can solve and what is just a worry, and how can we kind of distract ourselves from that worries, kind of falling back on our coping strategies that we talked about with before. And also remember that you are resilient, and be careful of all the what if scenarios that we often come up with in our heads. Our stress and anxiety generally cause us to focus on our negatives and our triggers and the what if questions, such as, oh, like, how will I cope if I get sick? Like, what if my family member gets COVID? All those different things, they can all drive us to think about the worst case scenarios. So we really want to try to avoid those things unless we know these things are certain. In stressful situations, people often overestimate how bad the situation can get, but underestimate how well you have been able to cope. You're sitting here on this webinar right now, and there is something that has got you to this point. You are coping, and there are things that are working for you. People are resilient and have coping skills that they use every day. If you think of difficult or challenging situations that you have encountered that you were able to manage, even if things weren't perfect, what did you do to cope in that situation? Kind of try to, what did you use to cope before when you're looking at all the different situations that cause you stress related to COVID? And remind yourself that you can handle that stress. And if you feel you need support, there are ways for you to get that support. And we will discuss more of that, when to seek help, who to seek help from, a little bit later on. So, like we kind of were just saying, sometimes it is hard to notice when we're struggling or where to turn. Sometimes our personal coping skills just really aren't working for us. Sometimes we don't even know if we're not well or what to look for. We've obviously have educated you a little bit more on some of those things, but we're going to talk to you a little bit more about some warning signs and different ways of how you can seek help outside of your personal coping skills.
So to carry on with that, some of the warning signs that we felt were really important to talk about today are marked change in personality, eating or sleeping patterns, an inability to cope with problems or daily activities, strange or grandiose ideas, excessive anxiety, prolonged depression or apathy, thinking or talking about suicide, substance abuse, and extreme mood swings or excessive anger, hostility, or violent behavior.
If there are at any point any ones that you want us to explain further, please throw it in the Q&A and we can kind of address later on as well.
Awesome. So who can help? So help and support can come from a variety of sources like teachers, coaches, parents, guardians, family members, doctors, nurses, and counselors. Many people can offer support. What is crucial is that you are turning to the right person for the specific issue. Some people will simply be able to offer support, while other more trained mental health professionals are able to offer therapy. So it's great, your best in there. They offer empathy statements and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're really looking for a therapist, someone to teach you some more concrete coping skills, maybe to challenge some other ideas or thinking patterns you have, why not try to talk to a therapist, and as well as your friends, right? But also not wanting to burn our friends out with some things we go through, and make sure we cover the load too. So like we've already talked about a little bit, is like a lot of the programs that we're offering at our office. Please reach out if you would be interested in getting some one-on-one support from myself. I'm also interested in helping people just do some system navigation. So making sure that they are going to the right places for the right support that they're looking for as well.
So we want to talk to you kind of, obviously, who can seek help, who can you seek help from, your warning signs, when to seek help. When do we know when we can't handle anything? Obviously, we've talked about the background of mental health and mental illness, stigma, but we really want to give you the skills for when someone else, even you or a family member, it doesn't even have to be you. It could be someone that you see experiencing those warning signs that needs some help. Seeking help is often the first step towards getting and staying well, but it can be hard to know where to start or where to turn to, because for some people, it's a very daunting experience. I know for myself, I am not one to want to ask for help. I am a very independent person and I want to do things for myself. But we kind of have to realize that our mental health and well-being, this can really change the discourse of how that plays out. It's common to feel unsure about asking for help and whether you should try to handle things on your own. But like I was saying, it's always okay to ask for help, even if you're not sure if you're experiencing a specific mental health problem or mental illness. Open communication and talking to somebody, kind of like we've already said, is something that we really want to be able to engage in when we're looking to when to seek help. You can talk to doctors, you can talk to kind of anyone, but there's also times that we do need to seek professional help. So that is actually what we're going to discuss next.
So when to seek professional help. You know yourselves the best, and we'd like for you to trust your own judgment. So even if family members don't believe or may not agree with your plan, it's ultimately your intuition and you know yourself the best. So if you think you need help, please listen to yourself and seek that help. So on that note, we're going to also add, if you're experiencing any excessive anxiety, thoughts of suicide that doesn't subside after a few weeks or months, it's imperative that you seek help. No clearly identifiable cause that you can't seem to explain why it's happening. So if something's going on for you that is just making you question things and it's really sort of rattling you and it's not going away and it's starting to affect your day-to-day activities, that's probably a time to seek help as well. And when things don't seem to be getting better. So there's always a transition time. Some days are better than others. There's highs and lows. Our moods kind of change sometimes with the weather too. There's lots of things that affect us in terms of how our day will flow. But again, you know yourself the best. And if something's just not changing for you and you're just having way more tough days than better days, it's definitely time to seek help. In addition to that, we'd also like to talk about things that we talked about in the last slide about excessive anxiety, and we covered that part. I think I'm good. We can move on.
There's actually a comment that was just made in the Q&A that I think actually is really significant to this. And I'm just going to read what the person said. The person said, I find that it's so hard because we often know that something's wrong, but we don't really know where to go. And it's hard to reach out saying that you actually need help, but you don't know how. So even if it's just saying that to somebody that you do need help is a good way to taking a step for finding help. Not knowing where to go, that can really help you kind of determine where to navigate and answer your questions. And with that, we kind of have finished off with kind of when to seek help, but we wanted kind of if you're kind of wondering, okay, where can I go from here? We want to talk to you about a few different resources that are available to you. And the first being our walk-in counseling clinic. With COVID, this has been available virtually over the phone. There are starting to be some more face-to-face interactions. However, we do suggest, especially if you are feeling anxious towards going anywhere because of COVID, accessing the walk-in virtually. It is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Tuesdays from 8 to 4, Thursdays from 10 to 6. It's a first come, first serve basis. So if you call in the morning, if there's a spot, we'll be able to fit you in. Basically, if you are going to call the line, it is a voicemail. Someone will return your call and schedule you a time at that point. These little like pamphlets and stuff, we can always give to Emilio to kind of circulate as well. Go for it, Alex.
So I just wanted to add in that, like basically the question that you just read, Morgan, about someone saying like, am I okay? Am I not okay? Do I reach out? Do I not reach out? Call our walk-in, and just let us talk to you about that, and like have a session with a therapist where you're kind of talking about some of those feelings and let them decide and give you some guidance to move forward. So we don't need to have those questions and be in this on our own. I also really encourage people, don't just call walk-in one day when it's 10 out of 10. Right? When it's like too hard to get out of bed, complete crisis, I should probably go to the emergency room, but I'm going to call this line instead. Like, please use this on a day where you're even having an okay or a good day. Because like we said before too, with coping skills, it's practice, practice, practice. So even on a good day, people kind of get anxiety about, calling and talking to a therapist they haven't met before, right? So give yourself practice, let yourself meet a therapist who you would be comfortable with on calling on a bad day, and practice that ahead of time, right? You don't lose anything by having a therapy session and talking about, your coping skills and how the last year and a half has been for you. I think absolutely everyone should be checking in and having a pretty honest conversation about how the last year and a half has went for them. So, please call us and please have those conversations.
And like Alex said too, like it's also a really good place to call walk-in, especially if you aren't sure. We're going to obviously go over a few more other resources, but walk-in's a good place to find other resources too. If you're not sure where to go, feel free to call and we can direct you in the right place as well, kind of more system navigation based. That said, here are some local resources that we kind of have put together for you. Very wide range of resources, including the shelter at Transition House, forecast for substance use, for county crisis is the crisis line, kind of one of us mentioned earlier, calling a crisis line when you are at that 10 out of 10 and you need that support. They are available 24/7. Child and youth service, kindergarten, child and family services, again, all very much connected. Rebound's actually connected to our walk-in. I don't think we mentioned that either. So we do have walk-in available for youth as well. Walk-in employment services, if a job is something that you're looking for in the area and you do want to start that process again. Again, it's harder with COVID, but we can still, there are resources to make things work for you. But Alex, I'm going to let you explain the next slide because you know more about some of these resources than I do.
Oh,
I need to do due diligence as well. I need to just add for the Watton's amazing, but we also have a couple other services, Port Hope Durham College Employment Supports, and we have EARN, Employment Assistance Resource Network, that's also in town, and Career Reg. So I'm just putting a plug out for my colleagues as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Tons of people to help you find jobs, even if you're having some mental health struggles. So for these apps, some of these apps have been absolutely amazing. For example, the Babylon, that's a virtual walk-in to see an MD. So that can be really helpful if you're looking to have prescriptions renewed, if you have a fever and you're not sure why and you not feel comfortable going to the emergency room right now. All things you could use these apps to see physicians through. What's also interesting is just sometimes like our location in Ontario is that we quite frankly don't have enough doctors, and sometimes there is a doctor sitting in an office in BC without enough patients. So some of these apps do allow you to speak to physicians, which is really great. Additionally, we have an app called MindShift. So there are tons of coping skill apps out there. I recommend people just download whatever's free. Don't start putting your credit card into these apps. Just download whatever's free. Try it for a little while. And if you like it, then maybe you can get some add-ons to the apps, but don't go buying these apps. So MindShift is a great one. There's some different meditations you can pick, whether it's a guided meditation or a visualization, whatever that is. Some progressive muscle relaxations where you're kind of like tensing and releasing some muscles in your arms or legs. Of course, we have the kids help phone, so that's a great place for kids to call. I do believe adults can also call that line, but additionally, we have Distress Center Durham. In the Durham region, if you're looking for, that is somewhere that people can call and talk to a volunteer. We also have TeleCheck or TeleMed in Peterborough, which is also a volunteer-led crisis line. Additionally, we also probably already mentioned there are 4 counties crisis you can call and talk to someone, but sometimes I really like the volunteer lines. They're not therapists, but they generally do have a little bit more time to be able to talk to you about what's going on that day. And I think that's really important too. We have the Calm app. We have Maple, which is also one of those ways to see a physician. And we have the Be Safe app. So the Be Safe app is downloading a crisis plan using healthy coping skills when we feel like using negative coping skills, just to make sure that we stay safe.
And also with that Be Safe app, it is actually, you can make your own safety plan on that app that you can then share with your friends and family as well. Rather than having something pen and paper, if that's something you're interested in, that is available to you. Obviously, this is a lot of resources, but like we said, you can always call walk-in, and these are different things that we can kind of steer you towards in other agencies as well, like community living, community care, applying for income, those kind of things. We can always steer you in the right direction as best we can. So
I think it's even important to mention that when people come to walk in, they often talk to a screener first, and they're able to do some case management stuff too. So, you know, if you are looking at filling out OW applications and you don't know where to start, if you're interested in applying for ODSP, but you've heard it's a long process and you don't know where to start, like, we do know a lot of these answers and are happy to share that knowledge too.
And with that, I am going to end sharing my screen if I can figure out where that just went. And we have time for questions. If anyone has any questions, Emilio gave us that Q&A little thread, or pop them in the chat.
All right, I'm checking. So we have a question from Katie Collins. She says, I find that it's so hard because we often know something wrong, but we really know, and it's hard to reach out saying, I need help, but you don't know. So even just saying that someone is good, a way to take a step for finding help. So yeah, definitely it's the most difficult part. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, we did manage, we did actually throw this into the presentation piece. We actually did see that. So that one, I think we did okay. If Katie, if you have anything else, we can answer that.
We do have a question from Jeanette. Would you like me to read it?
Go for it.
Okay, through this pandemic, I have been insistent that mental health should be the top of conversation moving forward and beyond. And I'm so grateful for this conversation and this connection with your work being offered in our community. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I did want to also thank you for that. I also wanted to add to the last comment about not knowing what she needs help with. Some of that's good. She's going to have to do some self-investigating. Is it sleep? Is it eating? Is it completing a task? Is it having dark thoughts? We've got to sort of narrow down what is it that you need help with, so we can sort of guide you in the right direction.
And that's why I found like people who are journaling right now and stuff has been really helpful, right? Like even people writing down like, today was a really great day. I went for a hike. I took my dog here. I connected with a friend on a patio that afternoon. You know, my mental health today was an 8 out of 10 or was a 9 out of 10. And then, you know, and just kind of tracking something like that. And then you also can have like people like, I didn't leave the house today. I had a Netflix marathon. I treated myself to extra chips than usual. And my mental health today was like a 3 out of 10. It wasn't a very good day. And that kind of shows us like, okay, like the eating wasn't great. The exercise was lacking on this day. They didn't get very much sunlight, and like look how that seems to have transmuted for their mental health. So with journaling or even just tracking, and you can type into Google like mood tracker, thought records, stuff like that, and all these templates come up. And then I just encourage people, go to the dollar store and get like a really cute $3 notebook and, you know, start writing down some of those things. And then when you get that opportunity to be talking to a counselor, a doctor, a friend, you know, you can pull some of that stuff up and be talking about that. Because, you know, even for example, I have a friend and she's like, sometimes I'm really great, but sometimes I'm not, but I have a really bad memory. And I'm like, write this stuff down so you can look back on it and just see how you're doing. Is it better than a couple months ago, or are you struggling a little bit more? And that's how stuff gets away from us, is just because sometimes there's a really gradual decline.
Oh,
Amelia, you're muted.
muted.
Typical. I just wanted to ask you guys, I mean, I probably miss it when you touch it, but do you talk about medication too?
Absolutely. We obviously leave that for psychiatrists and stuff to be prescribing, but we definitely make sure that people are taking their medications as prescribed. You know, for example, I heard once someone was talking about, you know, wanting to start taking antidepressants. They were prescribed some, they went home, they took one, they didn't feel better, so they took another one. They still didn't feel better, so they took another one. That's not the proper way to take an antidepressant. You need to take it as the bottle prescribes, but they thought it worked in the way like Advil worked. Right. And it just wasn't explained to them. And I felt terribly that it wasn't explained to them and they had to learn their, you know, lesson that way. Right. So, you know, teaching people how to properly take their medications, what to look out for with side effects and stuff is like a lot of conversations that we have.
Yeah, I'm asking because personally, I had to, and I have to still taking medication for anxiety. And that, you know, that started happening to me when I just arrived to Canada. Even the problem with the looking for job and not finding job, that threw me off. So my doctor sent me just, you know, it's a small doses. He explained it to me that like anything else, sometimes your body don't have the balance of chemicals and you need a little extra help. So so yeah, and it helped me a lot. So it was wonderful. So I decided one day, okay, I feel perfect. I don't feel bad anymore. I'm gonna stop, and I stopped it slowly to make sure that my body reacts to getting rid of that. It came back. So he then explained me, some people need to take this one forever. It's small doses, it's not a big deal, but I understood that my body needs that right now, and it's gonna need it for forever.
Absolutely. And that goes into like our mental health is just as important as our physical health, right? So sometimes you're taking a multivitamin because you need to and you feel a difference and stuff. And the same for you. And the way you're acknowledging is it's a chemical imbalance, right? So by taking those medications and keeping your brain chemicals and stuff the way they need to be, you know, we want to meet people where they're at. Some people don't want to take medication. I understand. Some people do want to take medication. We also understand. And it's going to be whatever works for you, right? But sometimes you're going to get to a point where there's no amount of coping skills, you know, to ward off some of this anxiety as well. And we understand.
And in terms of like, I know Alex was saying about like, obviously psychiatry services are generally where you can get access to medications for mental health. And within our agency, if that is something that you are interested in, psychiatry referrals do require an MD referral. So whether that's through a walk-in or your family doctor, you could have that faxed over to our office. And that's something that can be initiated through walk-in as well, as long as the referral is there. So that, again, if that is something you're looking for, that service is available.
I wanted
yes, go ahead, Sherry.
That's okay. I just want to say thank you, Amelia, for sharing that with us. We hear that a lot, or a lot of people are feeling really good and they stop taking their meds, which is fair, but at the same time, you acknowledge that you needed them again. And what happens when we're on medications is that our body starts working, the medications are working for us, so we feel better. So sometimes people do need to experiment a little bit to see if they still need it. But it goes to show a little bit for the stigma piece is for physical health, people tend to take their medications. I don't know the stats, but they tend to take their medications more regular. And for mental health, they tend to have some better days and they may not take their meds as prescribed. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's absolutely, Sherry. Like if someone like has had a heart attack and they're discharged from the hospital and they're told take these medications every day, they're going to, right? But then with mental health, it's like, oh, but I've been having good times lately and I don't need those anymore. And, you know, which as long, like depending, like have those conversations with your doctor, try weaning off, see how things go back on them if you need to.
And in fairness, there are lots of different types of meds out there and everybody's body composition and a whole bunch of things, variables go into that in terms of what's going to work for that individual. So it is a bit of a progress between you and your doctor to get on the right medications for you. But knowing how you feel on the medications, the pros and the cons, are very good feedback for your doctor to help make those decisions.
And that's why even seeing a psychiatrist through our office, so your family doctor would be referring you with our office, see a psychiatrist, do like a full assessment. They would write down a bunch of medication suggestions. Then they send this back to your family doctor. So that even if you are already taking a medication with your family doctor, but you think it could probably work better, your family doctor is about to get a report from a specialist, a psychiatrist, and to have some other suggestions for you too. So even if you're taking a medication and you think it could work better, it's definitely worth the time to investigate that.
And doctors are going back on the basics, like getting your sleep, getting exercise, getting fresh air, eating healthy. So those are like the first couple of questions the doctor is going to ask, and those kind of need to be in place as well. It's not just meds. It's a combination of a whole bunch of things that you're doing to better your health.
There is a long question here. Morgan, do you want to read it?
I think it's kind of just a comment, but I will read this. I've been on medications for a long time. So I've been off a few times. I always seem to be needing them again. I've just come to terms that it's a lifelong commitment, and just working closely with my doctor, we navigate it. Exercise, even just a daily walk, has been a huge help as well. Thank you so much for this webinar, and I appreciate the information and getting it out there. And we appreciate you sharing with us and allowing us to share this information with you and spend the last hour with us.
And Jody says, thank you everyone for sharing. You know, I feel like we could do more stuff like this, and it could be kind of just like podcast, like open kind of conversations, because I really think it is interesting, and people are having more of an interest in mental health and more of an interest in therapy and, you know, what we have out there for community resources. So yeah, we could probably talk about this all afternoon.
Well, one of the things the settlement is doing is trying to organize a full podcast with all this kind of stuff that and as a settlement coordinator, I'm not necessarily just close to newcomers or refugees and immigrants. I'm actually involved with everybody. That's why diversity is. That's why for me it's very important the integration of everybody. So if I start making aisles, so we don't integrate. So I want to be open and do that, the kind of stuff for everybody. So yeah, we're gonna do more in the future probably, because I see that this one was very well attended, and you guys did amazing. Thank you so much for preparing all this information. I can see the people is really happy. There is two more. Thank you for the information, and I join the rest of the viewers for the sharing information and ideas. Much of will be of great help. So Yes.
And there is one other
Wonderful.
comment in the chat part that I see over here. Someone
All
asked if
right.
the recording will be made available. Emilio, you have access to this recording, so that is up to you.
Okay. Probably if I had, I probably going to share it in the Facebook settlement page. So it's there for everybody to, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
Right. I know sometimes, hosts don't, or panelists don't like to share long term, but yeah, at least for a while I can put it there, and then everybody can have it. So, well, thank you so much for your time and for your expertises, and this it was a really important webinar, and looking forward to more.
Awesome. Oh, I just wanted to mention that I threw my email into the chat. So it's A as in Alex, and then McPhee, which is my last name, MCPHEE @nhh.ca. So if anyone's interested in any of the groups we have coming up or getting connected, please send me an email and I'd be happy to help.
Alex,
All
I'm going to
right,
retype
and,
it so that it goes to the attendees too, because that way right now it only goes to us, it looks like. So I will retype that for you.
Oh, thank you,
Yes.
Morgan.
There's both
Oh.
of our emails in there if anyone has questions.
Oh.
That's great. Oh yeah, you're right. So if somebody wants to, we're gonna leave a little bit time. So if somebody wants to take note of those emails, because when we close this, it's obviously the chat is gonna disappear when we close the webinar. So I'm gonna give you a couple, maybe 30 seconds, a minute to write it down, and I can always send them directly to the participants in an email if you want to, if you guys want to follow up with the ladies. So that will be amazing. So again, thank you so much for your time and for today. That was amazing. I'm pretty happy and looking forward to another more. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks
wonderful
everyone for
afternoon.
watching.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.